This video is sponsored by Squarespace. I need you to explain, what features would your dream camera have? Well, I need 44 megapixels. And 8K video would be nice. Okay. And don't forget, I need global shutter for when I'm shooting sports. The technology isn't quite there yet to have everything you said in one camera. Ideally, this would all cost less than $1,000 with a kit lens. Hybrid cameras come in 3 different forms. The first leans much more towards photography. The second leans much more towards video. And the third sits quite firmly in the middle. So it's important to consider the features that you think you want versus the features that you actually need and are going to use on a regular basis. This camera is for the pro photographers who need a dedicated workhorse. Whether you work in a studio, on location, shooting landscapes, or you're a commercial photographer. It's unlikely, but not a 0% chance, that many sports photographers are going to flock to the Lumix S1R Mark II. Sure, it has some impressive burst modes, but you're probably going to go for something with a super high burst mode, global electronic shutter like the Sony A9 III. I'd like to take a moment to thank the sponsor of today's video, Squarespace. I've been using Squarespace long before they sponsored the channel. I use Squarespace to run my store and publish my monthly email newsletter using their email campaign tools. Updating my street photography portfolio using their image galleries could not be easier, and it's the perfect way to showcase your portfolio outside of social media. Their easy to use templates and drag and drop design tools mean that you can create a professional looking website with no prior web design skills. Why not get started at squarespace.com with a free trial? And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/GeorgeHolden to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. So how do I approach this camera as a street photographer? The reality is that I do not need half the resolution that this camera provides. And also I can get by without the insane 40 FPS electronic shutter burst mode. But I have to admit that the ergonomics of this camera, along with the interface, the EVF and the LCD make it a really compelling photography camera that also doubles as a great video camera. For my slow shutter sequence that I showed you in the intro of this video, I was shooting in a mixture of mechanical shutter and electronic shutter, depending on what each scene actually required. For example, the skater, the trams, the dogs, they were all with mechanical shutter. But when I was a bit closer to people and trying not to be too weird as a street photographer, I was shooting in electronic shutter because they weren't moving too quickly and I could disturb the scene that little bit less. The lens I chose to use for this was actually this Sigma. Oh, sorry, Tamron lens cap. This is a Sigma with a... Sorry, I had a step up ring on. I should have thought about that before. This is a Sigma. This Sigma 50mm f2, like the C contemporary art lens, whatever it's called, for L-mount. But I decided to use this particular lens for this sequence because I thought for getting these kind of slow shutter, trying to isolate a moving subject with blurry background, 50mm focal length actually worked much more when trying to put together an interesting set of scenes. And from a design perspective, actually having this more premium metal build with the aperture ring and really quite an interesting design of the Sigma 50mm, having this lens on the S1R Mark II made it feel more a photography camera for me anyway, compared to when I've had the 35mm 1.8 from Lumix. As good as their primes are, and I appreciate the uniform design, it is a bit plasticky. And for a camera that costs what the S1R II does, I want something that feels a bit more premium. But of course, there are many lenses available for L-mount. What genre of photography do you actually specialize in? I shoot a bit of everything, really. Everything? Motorsports? Live music? Wildlife? Look, I've tried it all, so I need the best of the best to keep up with any photography that I'm doing. So, do you actually need high-resolution photos? Well, yes, and 42 megapixels is the absolute minimum. So you must be printing professionally. No, but I do have quite a substantial Instagram following. You can get by on Instagram with 10 megapixels, trust me. The interface of this camera is one of the best I've ever used, both from a hardware and software perspective. But that's not surprising, because of how good the interface is of this much older, much smaller sensor Lumix camera, the Lumix GX80. If you've used a Lumix camera ever in your past, you'll know that their touchscreen interface and menu interface and touch shooting interface has been class leading pretty much since day dot. Outside of the touchscreen interface though, I do have to say that having all of the dials available on the S1R Mark II, along with the high resolution EVF, the fully articulating tilting LCD screen, and the new mode dial to go between photo, video and S&Q modes, mean that this camera is pretty much simple and understandable to use the second you take it out of the box. And you don't need to have custom buttons set up the way that I'm used to setting up on my Sony camera. A camera like this will not instantly make your photos better. What new cameras do, and specifically flagships with these high resolution sensors and fast burst modes, etc., what they do is help you avoid taking bad photos. But they're not going to help you naturally take better photos. What do I mean by that? Well, high resolution sensors mean that you can shoot a wider scene, maybe get it a bit wrong, and you have more flexibility to crop and fix a frame in post, and then still have a good resolution image left over at the end. So that can help you save a bad image if you framed badly in the moment. Likewise, with having a burst mode or high FPS burst mode, that is going to help you not miss the exact moment, in case you get timing wrong, etc. Do the majority of people need these specs? No. As someone who tests a lot of cameras, trust me, you need like a quarter of what this camera can do for the majority of things we do these days. Like in my case, I don't crave a high-res photo camera. I have a 33 megapixel camera in my A7C II, but really this is mainly my video camera. And most of the time, if you bump into me on the street these days, I'll be carrying around this. This is a 16 megapixel 4/3 sensor camera that I really love shooting photography with. It doesn't have a lot of resolution, but trust me, you do not need resolution to take some nice images, just like many of the images you'll see on my portfolio. And if you like the colors you see in these images, you can pick up my Kodak film stock presets, my Fujifilm film stock presets, or my Naturally Filmic presets. And you can save by buying all 3 packs together in the 3-pack bundle. And viewers of this video can use this unique code at checkout to save an extra 20% off their order. These are some of the best film simulation presets you can buy, and I use these in 100% of the images you see me share online. I have to be honest, I've always wanted a camera that has the fully articulating and tilt LCD. While I don't own this one, maybe one day I'll own a camera that has this. Ergonomically, I have to say, I'm a big fan of how the S1R Mark II, and even like the S5 II that I've had hands-on with before, do feel in the hand. If I was shooting freelance a lot more, then this is the sort of camera that I would lean towards. It feels solidly built, everything is a physical control at my fingertips, and I don't have to learn too much about the camera, even with a limited amount of time using it. I would put the S1R Mark II much more towards the Canon end of the design spectrum in terms of being a pro hybrid camera body, compared to something like a Sony A7C II, which I'm filming on right now, which is more of like an everyday high-end hybrid camera. But it doesn't feel like a pro body in the same sense that this does. Oh, you're still here? Well, seeing as you're still here, you should probably subscribe to the channel and like this video. And also, YouTube thinks you're going to love this video from me next. I have no idea what it is, but YouTube thinks you're gonna love it.